Welcome to episode 16 of Four Shot Podcast, where we discuss all things HCS and some things Halo. I am your host, Phelan, and with me I have host Phade. Welcome, Phade. This special edition that Phelan wasn't supposed to be here, and yet he still is a Four Shot Podcast.
Yeah, I don't know what happened to the YOLO solo Phade show, but
if you did it on Tuesday,
basically what happened is I'm blaming it on my friend Chroma. He was supposed to do it with me, but we couldn't figure out the schedules and stuff.
it's all good.
So
I came back a bit early from vacation. Got bored.
Yeah, you couldn't deal with no internet.
Yeah, it's awful not having any sort of internet or phone or TV or nothing up there. And I needed to go see a doctor because my voice was still having issues. So I wanted to come back, get that taken care of. Did that earlier today. Ready to go. Back on the Halo train. I feel like I was gone for a few days and I missed everything in the world.
Yeah, you did. It seemed quite a bit going on. Obviously, there's the GamesCom tournament, and which you did see before you left, I believe.
I watched it while I was at work. If anyone from work is listening, I did not just say that.
Yeah, and then some roster stuff going down. So we'll see how that shakes down. But I guess let's start it off with the Gamescom.
Yeah, so GamesCom Invitational, €10,000. That's equivalent to $10,880.75.
Pretty accurate number. I'm assuming that you used a conversion thing.
I did Google
like very recently.
I did it on Friday. Whenever I heard about the I didn't even know there was a prize pool when I originally was told about the Invitational, and so when I first heard about it, I figured. I knew the euro was roughly the same as the dollar. I had a relative that just went to Europe, so I knew it was roughly the same, but out of curiosity, I figured I'd put it in there. But yeah, there's a prize pool. Plus, I would assume since it's an invitational, they probably paid for some flights and hotels and stuff.
Yeah, I'm sure all that was covered. As far as the tournament format, there was no losers bracket, so it's only winners bracket, and it was all team slayers. So no chance.
No coaches was the other big.
Yeah, no coaches. I was kind of looking forward to potentially seeing some of their objective game types, strongholds or something like that. But only slayer. I don't know about you. I really enjoyed it. Yeah, only 2 maps also. I did enjoy it a lot.
I enjoyed seeing it. The 2 maps thing bothered me. I think there should have at least been 3. Just to make things more fair.
They were downgrading from HCS in 3 maps.
Yeah, we went from
down
3 to 2. But the big issue is if you're only playing team player on the map, then you're automatically repeating one. And if one team's good at one map and one team's good at the other map, it's kind of unfair to let one map be, the prominent one, which was Empire. Empire was always the first, third, and possibly 5th game, depending on which series we're talking about. Which means if you were better on Empire than you were on Fathom, you were guaranteed to win the series almost. So
yeah,
wasn't a fan of that. I wish there was at least one more map they would have had. Would have been nice.
It would have, but I think the tournament went well though. Hey, no disconnects. So
well, there was one, but it wasn't their fault.
Okay.
Yeah, the whole Gamescom internet went out.
Okay.
I think it was in the very first game too. It was the very first game, like 5 minutes in, and all of a sudden, player disconnects, and you just see the look on Bravo's face of, "Oh God, no, this is not happening right now." And he's trying to play it off as cool, like it's not a big deal. And the Sims is trying to play it off like it's not a big deal. And then all of a sudden the stream cuts out, and HCS tweets out that all of Gamescom lost internet. It had nothing to do with them.
Yeah. So I guess fortunately, nothing so far wrong with Halo 5.
I wouldn't go that far, but nothing wrong networking wise.
That's what I mean, like the networking and joining lobbies and stuff like that.
We'll definitely get into a discussion. I took some notes. We'll definitely get into a discussion about all of that.
Absolutely.
Stuff that I noticed off the top of my head when we get to that point. But we'll get things kicked off with round 1 is Optic versus Supremacy, best of 3. And the Supremacy roster, just guys in if you don't remember our last podcast where we talked about it, is Riot, Chalky, Ramirez, and Foxy.
And just to note about this Supremacy team is they're basically the EG of Europe. Meaning that they haven't lost it. Yeah, they haven't lost a tournament for. Yeah, so it's been 1 year without them losing any events. I don't actually know how many events there've been in Europe and stuff.
I was wondering that too, because they're just like, they haven't lost since last year. I'm just like, have there been any events in
I was
Europe
like,
since
is that
last year?
10 events? Is that one event? I'm not sure. I mean, I'm sure there was quite a few little smaller ones and stuff like that. But yeah, so they're pretty good team. Obviously, if they have won that many events, you have to be pretty good. Some good teamwork and stuff. So, I mean, that probably gives them an edge up. Not necessarily over Optic because they've been together for a long time too, but maybe over Epsilon or Kaz, the other two European teams, just because they have the teamwork already down and everything like that.
Yeah. So we get things kicked off with Team Player on Empire. Very close game to start with. They kind of start the trading OSs to begin with. Around the 8-minute mark, Supremacy has a slight lead at 24-20. Around the 5:30 mark, there was that disconnection that I mentioned. Luckily, it wasn't HCS's fault or Halo's fault or 343. It was Gamescom. So we get the restart back up. Optic needs 35 from his... Or no, Optic has 35, Supremacy has 37, so Supremacy only needs 13. Optic still needs 15. This time around, Supremacy gets the first two S's, but Optic kind of makes them burn it real quick. As soon as they get it, they were able to take the guy down and kind of keep the game close, but Supremacy holds on to get the 50-44 win to go up 1-0 in the series. And while we're on the topic here, let's talk about how the Overshield is working in Halo 5, in that when you get to the Overshield, you have to pick it up. There's kind of a pause of a second while the person like puts it in his hand and then throws it onto his body. And in that pause, if you kill them, the Overshield hasn't started yet, and the Overshield is basically burned. How do you feel about...
Okay, so there's been on the Team Beyond forums, people discussing this, how they think it works and stuff. And a lot of people are very, very against this. But to me, I'm not necessarily against it. I don't think that you should immediately, I mean, I guess it doesn't matter. You can either get the Overshield immediately, and I'm okay with that, or you can have to survive for a second to, obtain it, and I'm okay with that. To me, it's not like some huge thing. I don't think it's unfair. I mean, it stops people sprinting in, stealing it from a team that was more set up and ready to control that area. So I don't know. I'm not really against it. I mean, it takes a little bit extra. You see more Overshields burned probably just because people are trying to grab it quick and without really controlling it. And I think we saw that throughout the entire tournament. It changed a little bit. By the end, I felt like the teams were setting up around it a little bit more and really trying to control it and stay alive with it, as opposed to just go and grab it and hope to live.
Yeah, it kind of reminds me, and not to talk about League of Legends, a MOBA and all this, but in League of Legends, I don't know if you've ever played it, but when you're going for the Baron, you see the team will set up and they'll work together to get it. And then out of nowhere, someone will sacrifice them lives to kind of just dive in there, get the Baron steal, and probably sacrifice their lives at the same time. And I kind of see how that's where the Overshield's going to kind of be going, where the teams are going to try to set up to get it, and we're going to see the team that's not set up just kind of dive bombing in there, having one person sacrifice their life to at least... And we saw a lot of that early on with the burning of the Overshield.
And
I think that's kind of where it's going.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm okay with that, because I feel like if you're going to just dive bomb in like that to try and burn it, you should sacrifice your life. I don't feel like you should instantly get a full Overshield and then you have the advantage, when your team really probably wasn't as set up as much. I mean, there's always the reverse that, hey, if you got there first, then you deserve it type of deal. But to me, I'm just okay with a team having to work a little bit more together. I think that elevates the gameplay from a team standpoint.
Yeah, I would say that. Similar to you, I'm neither here nor there with it. It doesn't really bother me that they changed it to be the way it is. I don't think it's a good or a bad thing. It's definitely going to change how people go about getting the Overshield. It's not going to be just kind of one person timing it. It's going to have to start being a team effort.
Exactly.
But it's definitely. I think it's definitely too soon to judge it. We need to see maybe a little bit more of how it'll play out. But yeah, right now I'm okay with it being.
Yeah, the one thing I did notice in general, though, the game, especially on Empire, the game became almost entirely about just getting the overshield. And
It
because it was
spawns
up every
way too
minute,
fast. Yeah.
yeah, it's every minute, at least at the build that we saw at Gamescom. And that's too fast for me. I think no faster than 90 seconds would be better. Um, even maybe like, even just like with the camo, 110 would make it slightly better. But even like on the camo on Warlord and HCS, but I don't know. I think probably 90 seconds is a good time for the overshield, or potentially like 80 seconds, a minute 20,
Yeah.
could be a good time for, or minute 15 or something like that. You know.
I've never been a fan of the overshield being able to last longer than the timer on it. And
Exactly.
this was a big thing in Halo 2. If you got the overshield, Beaver Creek is the big example
Yeah.
where it
You
was a
can have it
minute timer.
forever.
You could have you or like if you had the overshield and you took no damage, by the time the overshield came back up, you still had about 10 seconds left of overshield. So you actually couldn't pick it up until either you dated yourself, had a teammate shoot you, or had someone else go grab it. Because if you have an overshield, you weren't able to grab more. You had to at least let yours run out. And I know at one point in this tournament, I think I might have even wrote it down. One of the teams had the overshield, and
They
by
had
the
two
time
overshields, yeah.
yeah, by the time it came back up, they still had some overshield left, so they essentially had two overshields. And I don't like that. So yeah, I would definitely say one thing is to slow down.
Mm-hmm. It just made the map like a mosh pit in the middle. Basically, it's just like both teams just collapsed on the middle every minute, and it seemed like that was the only thing that was driving gameplay almost.
It made that was their setups. Everyone was like goal was to get a sniper down into the overshield spawn and just kind of like set up.
Well, on Empire there was no sniper.
Oh, am I thinking of Fathom?
Yeah, Fathom had the sniper, but yeah, Empire didn't have it. And just in general, we can talk just because it's the first time we're talking about this map. What was your impression in general on Empire?
I didn't like it. I'm not sure why or what about it I didn't like. I didn't like how it was playing. I didn't like how it looked visually. Something it just seemed maybe a little too closed. Fathom on the other hand, I thought was awesome, but something about Empire just wasn't striking it.
No, and I'm the exact same way. The thing that basically I didn't like about Empire was that the line of sights on it and the way that like the architecture goes through the middle and stuff, it blocked a lot of the pistol or precision weapon line of sights. And because it was the overshield's coming up every minute, it really kind of like incentivized the use of the SMG and the assault rifle and the shotgun. And that's not necessarily bad. We can get to that later. I'm not against those weapons, but I'm against maps that make them the like basically the pure better option. It just seemed like there's very few instances where I would really just want to have a precision weapon as opposed to like an assault rifle or the AR or the SMG on Empire. Or I don't know. It just seemed like
the scope.
It just seemed like the line of sight. Yeah, the
default...
line of sights just weren't good enough for team shooting to ever happen, or for their precision weapons to really be utilized.
Yeah. Yeah, I would agree with that. There wasn't a lot of open space. And I feel like when you look at all the great Halo maps, there's always a lot of open space.
Yeah. I mean, you don't want necessarily open space, but you want to have space where you can you can see across the maps basically. Not like all the way, but there's different lines of sight that you can find that give you increased range. Where I didn't feel like in Empire there was really much of that. So that was my impression on Empire. But yeah, game one, Supremacy wins that 50-44. Are you surprised by this?
Yes and no. With Supremacy being the #1 Europe team, I expected it to be close. With it being Halo 5, a game that neither team has really played that much. It was really a toss-up to be able to tell who was going to be the better team. And like they tried to do some sort of seedings offline with gate teams playing each other, and somehow they determined Optic was the team in Supremacy. But I mean, it was close, which is what I was expecting. I wasn't expecting Optic to be dominant. Now, if that was instead of Optic, maybe I would have been a little more surprised. But I mean, we saw Optic where they ended up finishing 6th.
Yeah, 6th at the finals, or 5th, 6th, in that block. So, yeah, no, I mean, I might have expected Optic to win just because I guess we have a natural tendency to think that the NA teams are better than the Euro teams, just because they get higher level of competition and play and stuff like that. So, I guess I would probably say that it is a bit of an upset, just because of that. I think Optic consistently plays higher caliber of players, probably. When they're playing EG, they're playing Denial, they're playing CLG and stuff. So for that reason, I'd say it's probably a little bit of a surprise. But I do think, I mean, it's a brand new game, so it's just what in the day or two beforehand, like what these teams were able to like kind of figure out for themselves. So it's not like a huge shock just because it's a new game and anybody can be good at it, basically. It's just whoever figures it out first and whatever team can make it work first.
Yeah. We head into game 2. Team Slayer on Fathom. Supremacy gets off to a super awesome 6-0 start. Looked like they were about to start running away with the game real quick. But Optic's able to stay close, keep the game close. Around the 8-minute mark, Supremacy's up 23-21. And then a little after that, Ace comes up huge. He ends up coming,
Mr. 200K.
He ends up coming up against a person with overshield and shotgun and ends up winning the battle. In close enough range where the shotgun could have killed him, but he was able to outmaneuver the person that was shooting the shotgun. They missed 2 shots on him that would have killed him instantly. He's able to take down the full overshield and get the final beatdown or whatever on the person and get the kill. And that basically swung all the momentum in Optic's favor. And at the 4-minute mark, they have a 42-38 lead. They end up closing it out 50-41, controlling OS pretty much the rest of the game after that Ace moment.
Yeah, and the one thing I like to point out here, like Ace's use of like thruster and things like that, some of the movement options that are now available in Halo 5. And I recently, like, just I think it was either yesterday or the day before, Ace tweeted out about how he thinks that the best players in Halo 5 are the ones that are going to be able to master the techniques, and that utilizing the thruster and stuff in those 1v1 battles is going to be huge, and that he thinks that it's going to increase the skill gap, is basically what he tweeted. But it makes sense to me that he's able to pick up that, or just naturally good at those techniques and using those new abilities and stuff, because I mean he was the champion, the world champion or whatever for Halo 4 and won the $200,000 there, and that's a game that's a lot has the abilities as well and changed things quite a bit. So it feels like Ace is really a very adaptive player. Is that the correct word? He's good at adapting to the new games, basically. So I'm not surprised to see him, show a lot of skill here at the Gamescom.
Yeah. Obviously, he won the 200,000 Halo 4 World Championships or whatever it was called. He's clearly, got some good skill, because that tournament was even a one-on-one.
Yeah.
Or it was free for all to start, and then it turned into one-on-one towards the end or something along those lines. Yeah. He ended up beating Pistola in the finals, just to show the talent he was playing against. So it's not like he was playing against a bunch of randoms. But yeah, he showed his one-on-one ability here, using those thrusters to kind of out-juke the shotgun guy and completely rip through his overshield with the assault rifle and end up getting...
And if you guys have seen the Halo 5 shotgun, you'll know that that's a huge thing to do.
Yeah, I have both talks about the shotgun and the abilities later on, so we'll get to that at a later point.
Absolutely.
For discussion. But Optic, as we said, Optic wins the game, tied 1-1. We're heading into a tiebreaker. Game 3 back on Empire, where Supremacy previously had won. Game gets started somewhat close to start with, but around the 8-minute mark, Supremacy's finally, they're pulling away 25-17. They're doing a great job of holding all of the OSs, and they're pretty much keeping it all one-sided at this point. Supremacy starts teabagging Optic, and kind of showing that screw NA, Europe doesn't get enough respect, and they were kind of letting them know it. and Supremacy ends up almost getting the stake, winning 50-32, closing out Optic in a dominant.
Yeah, very, very impressive win right there in the game 3, and it is a best of 3, so that is the end of Optic's tournament here at the Gamescom. Just 3 games and they're done. That quick. But no, Supremacy really showed that they were for real. That they're a great team, and that they can compete with, especially at least early in Halo 5, they're going to be able to compete with the best NA teams.
Yeah, I mean, for sure. Halo 5 is so different, especially going from Master Chief Collection to Halo 5.
Which is very
It's
basic.
such a big jump that I think it kind of is going to set everyone on an even playing field, more or less. And like you said, it's going to be the teams that adapt. They're going to rise to the top quickest. Back when it went from like 3 to Reach to 4, it was a gradual transition, and now it's a hard, transition from.
Yeah, it's way faster.
Halo 2, basically. Yeah, it's a very slow Halo 2 to a very quick Halo 5. And even on top of that, just, all the new crap added in that, teams are still figuring out. We barely scratched the surface of what this game's going to let the players do.
Yeah, definitely. I think the especially compared to MCC, Halo 5 is going to have so much more opportunity for like a meta, basically, to where I feel like the game has a lot more opportunity to evolve as it grows and like goes on through seasons, where MCC was just the exact same thing every time.
When you say meta, are you talking about like team-wise or?
Just gameplay-wise, I feel like there's a lot more opportunity for strategies to change and evolve, like because the sandbox is a little bit more utilized in Halo 5, and there's the additional armor abilities and stuff. You might see, eventually start to see some strategies that involve like potentially the ground pound thing and stuff, and we'll get into all that stuff later. I just think that Halo 5 has more opportunity to have for the gameplay not to become stale, basically.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Heading into our second game then, we had Epsilon versus Kaz, and just to do a quick recap, Epsilon is made up of the Buck twins, Buck 20 and Buck 57, Jimbo, who's a pretty prominent streamer on Twitch. I've caught him more than a handful of times streaming. He has a fairly big following. And Snipe Drone, who, if you ever watch Nated's channel, he's always, whenever Nated plays with his subs, he's always playing with them. So, names I recognize all the names on the team. And they're playing against Kaz, who's made up of Flames, Bard, Hollers, and Snaky. The important thing to note here is Hollers is actually the coach of Kaz Esports, and was playing with the team. I'm not sure if they just, whoever their normal fourth is, wasn't able to play, or if because he is the coach, he still wanted to be there, because technically no coaches were allowed. So he still wanted to be there from a coaching perspective. So I'm not exactly sure how that all played out and why he was on the team.
I mean, my guess is he went to coach, and then they found out that they couldn't coach, and so but then potentially, I don't know, maybe their fourth just couldn't make it. I don't know the story there, but yeah, so I mean, that's definitely a disadvantage. I mean, as a coach, like, we can talk about how we're good players and stuff also, and we know the game and stuff, but you're not as good as the players. We're just not. So it's definitely a downgrade to have to play with your coach in the event.
Yeah, I remember at one point during the online cups, Towie.
I mean, Towie's probably one of the more skilled coaches that there is.
Yeah,
aside from like Elamite and stuff and Clutch, the old pros that were coaching last.
I know at some point Towie had to play with the team. Maybe it was a scrimmage too. I can't remember.
Yeah, but, he plays with them on PGLs a lot.
Yeah, so it's definitely a downgrade. Like EGB are very dominant, but with Towie, they're still good, but obviously they're not as good. So.
Yeah, but anyway, so game 1 is again TS Empire. All game 1s are, and Epsilon comes out strong in the beginning. They amount to an 8-kill lead by the 8-minute mark. So that's 30-22 is their lead. And then this is the game I think you were mentioning earlier where they got both overshields, where they had one, and then basically he was running around the map and didn't find anybody or didn't get shot, and then their teammate got another one, and that's Epsilon controlling both overshields. So, I mean, granted, it's a full one and then like 10% of one, but still, that's kind of what we were talking about, where overshield should probably be on a little bit longer respawn time. But then, through both those overshields and just controlling map in general, Epsilon gets that Steak-tacular, the 50-30 win, and puts a big stamp on that game one against Kaz, and shows that. I mean, and I think, like you were saying, I think Epsilon was technically the number one seed just based on like their pre-tournament like scrimmaging and stuff.
Yeah, however it was decided, they were number one, and therefore Kaz would have been.
Yeah, so definitely proved that they were worth that with that big statement game one.
Yeah, for sure. Moving into game 2 on Fathom, as we mentioned, all game 2s will be Fathom. 8-minute mark, Kaz has a 29-15 lead. It looks like, they weren't taking that first game very lightly. They're gonna, fight back. 6-minute mark, they're up 38-29. And then all of a sudden, things start kind of flipping into Epsilon's favor. They get map control, they get all the sniper and the weapons, and they're starting to control the overshield. And 1 minute later, they go from Kaz goes from being up 38-29 to being up 39-37. They had an 11 kill or 9 kill lead that is now only 2 in a
math,
minute.
Man.
Yeah, math is tough. I'm on vacation. I shouldn't have to think. And then 1 minute later, at the 4-minute mark, Epsilon went from being down 2 to being up 6, 48-42. They ended up closing it out 50-42. And it was a big, statement by Epsilon that, they were down almost at the 8-minute mark.
14 at one point.
Yeah, almost double. Yeah. Kaz had almost double kills that they did, and they were able to set up control and get control of the map back, which is kind of what I liked about Fathom a little more than Empire. Empire seemed a little bit more chaotic than Fathom to allow for the setups. With the remember where the overshield is, they would get the sniper down there, kind of be able to see the V out of the corner and be able to try to control there. I liked.
Yeah, definitely. And just to show my math skills, though, yeah, that's a 22 kill swing from being down 14 to winning by 8. So a huge turnaround in the game. I think we saw that a couple times from Epsilon actually throughout the tournament, where they were able to come back. I don't know if they won them all, but they were able to come back from big deficits to make it close or to win games, or in this case, win by a good chunk as well.
Yeah, and with this win, they end up closing out the series with a 2-0 win over Kaz, sending Kaz home with Optic and Epsilon into the finals against Supremacy. So we start our finals, which is a best of 5 this time. Get things kicked off on Empire. Supremacy has a slight lead around the 8-minute mark, 26-23. At the 6-minute mark, it is all tied up. Game could go either way. 1 minute later, Supremacy gets the lead back again, 45-41, and ended up closing out 50-42, take a 1-0 lead on Epsilon in a very surprising manner. We talked earlier about how Epsilon was down and was able to mount a huge comeback. This time they were down just a little bit. They came back to tie it up and then ended up losing it in the end. Supremacy.
Yeah, and to note, I guess through the entire scrimmaging process before the tournament and up to this point, Supremacy has not lost an Empire game. They've won every single Empire game up to this point.
Yeah. It definitely seems like they have that map figured out.
Yeah, definitely.
So we move into...
And then...
Oh, go ahead.
Oh, and I was just going to say, and then moving into Game 2, the Team Slayer Fathom is obviously the only map that Supremacy has lost on before, so...
Yeah. So we get things kicked off here. This map, there wasn't really much to talk about. It's pretty much all Epsilon. At the 8-minute mark, they're up 30-18, and it didn't even get to the 6-minute mark at that point, and Epsilon ends up winning 50-27, getting the stake.
Yeah, their second stake of the tournament.
Yeah, in dominant fashion, kind of letting it be known that maybe that first game was a fluke, and they're about to steamroll the rest of their way through. So we head back into game 3.
I think Jimbo had a huge sniper play in that game too. He controlling it. I mean,
yeah.
He really controlled the sniper and had a lot of nice shots with it and everything. And just it's nice to see that part of the sandbox, the long range part on Fathom. So I enjoyed watching Fathom a lot more.
They said during their practice time, Jimbo was specifically practicing routes to the sniper. So he knew, like, wherever he was on the map, what was the quickest way that he could clamber up to where the sniper was. So,
gotcha.
It definitely showed with him being able to control it as much.
Yeah, definitely.
We're heading to Game 3, back to Empire. Once again, at the 8-minute mark, Supremacy has a slight lead, 23-21. They keep that lead at the 6-minute mark, up 39-31, or extending it out a little bit. Epsilon slowly brings it back at the 5-minute mark. Supremacy's only up 43-38. 4-minute mark, game is all tied at 44. Here we go with another Epsilon comeback. But 57 is doing work with the OS Shoddy.
Yeah, and I think they take the lead at this point. They were up 48-46, I believe, and they had the shotgun, and they were set up for overshield. And like you said, Bucks at 57 had the overshield and shoddy. I think you wanted to coin that the Terminator combo.
Yeah, it needs a name. It needs a name.
The invincible shotgun. It makes sense. Get that Arnold going. But no, I believe they're up 2 kills with the overshield coming up, and they have shotgun. So it looks like they're in pretty good control to take this map from Empire, from Supremacy, on Empire, Supremacy's best map and everything. But then they all got trapped basically down at the overshield. There was 3 of them just sitting in the corners of the overshield, trying to like survive nades that Supremacy is throwing down at them, and they weren't able to. Really poor decision from Epsilon right there. All of them going down for the, not necessarily all like setting up for the overshield, but all being like feet from the overshield, trapped in corners where these nades can come in and just destroy them. And that's what we saw. The nades come in, 3 members die. Now it's 49-48, and then Supremacy cleans up the last one in a 4v1 situation, and wins the 50-48.
Yep, they take a 2-1 lead, only needed 1 more to close out the series against number 1 seeded Epsilon. So we head into Game 4, Team Slayer on Fathom, previously where Epsilon got a stake, wondering if they'll be able to do it again to send it to a Game 5. At the 8-minute mark, Epsilon is up 24-18. 6-minute mark, 36-28. 5-minute mark, 42-35. End up closing it out 50-39. All Epsilon, all the time on Fathom. They seem to got that map locked down. Pretty dominant fashion. Not as dominant as the Stake-tacular, but they do get the win by double digits, sending it to a Game 5.
Yeah, they really just like showcased Fathom in general throughout the entire tournament. Their skill in that, with the giant comeback against Kaz, and then both these big wins against Supremacy.
Yeah, they didn't drop a match on Fathom. So we head into the Game 5. This is similar to how we talked about earlier, or I mentioned earlier, where I don't like the fact that there's only 2 maps, because this is kind of being a point where Supremacy is going to win Empire.
Epsilon's going to win Fathom, yeah.
And it's really unfair that Empire just happens to be the one that's going to get played more in this situation. Well, we head into Game 5 anyways. At the 8-minute mark, Epsilon has a 28-20 lead. Very surprising. They've been down at this point in all the previous matches against... I just blanked on the team name.
Supremacy, yeah.
Supremacy. 6-minute mark, Epsilon keeps that lead 37-30. 5-minute mark, 45-38. 4-minute mark, 47-41. Epsilon ends up closing out 50-46, holding the lead the entire game, finally getting that upset on Empire against Supremacy, and taking the €10,000 win, our Game 5 win, and the first place finishing at GamesCom.
Yeah, and they're the first champions of Halo 5, basically. The one thing I think that the difference on this game of Empire compared to the other ones that they played was that they really controlled like the T-Tower, which is the big tower basically on the map with the shotgun. So they had the shotgun and that tower for most of the map, and from there, that tower like gives you the most line of sights possible. Like I said, there's not a ton on this map, but it did give them the most possible, and really allowed for them to get that early lead and then kind of trade kills from there and just maintain the game and pull the win out and win 3-2 in the series and take the tournament.
Yeah, and just some quick stats that I had written down. If you look at the maximum amount of kills the team could have gotten going to a Game 5, Epsilon got 240 out of 248, which was 97% of what they could have gotten, while Supremacy only got 85%. So even though it went to Game 5, the games that Epsilon won were very dominant, and the ones that Supremacy won were somewhat close.
Yeah, definitely.
So, it's definitely Epsilon was definitely the better team. Even if Supremacy had won this Game 5, the stats probably would have still favored Epsilon in the end, just because they were so dominant on Fathom.
Yeah, I just want to, I want to give a shout out to the twins, Buck20, Buck57, Alex and Will. They're friends of mine from back when I was coaching in Halo 3 and stuff. I spent a lot of time at the tournaments hanging out with them and everything. So, and like at the hotels and stuff and partying and whatnot. So, great guys. And I always enjoy seeing them win. So I was an Epsilon fan at this tournament and very excited for them.
Yeah, along with Jimbo, like I said, who I've watched plenty of times, and Snipe Drone, who I'm familiar with as well. So, they were my favorites coming in. If I had, they were the number 1 seed, and they were probably who I also thought I had the best chance, and that definitely held true, and they showed their dominance.
Yeah, although I will say, going into Game 5, I expected Supremacy to win that, just because it was on Empire again.
I thought it would be close, but I didn't think Epsilon would let that happen 3 times.
That's true.
Both games they had a tie at some point in games 1 and 3. They were they were tied
and to be fair,
38 and then 48-44 in the second one. So both games they had a chance to close that out, and they just failed. And there's no way they were going to do that a third time.
And to be fair, on the Game 3, they choked the game. They should have won that, and they just messed up and choked. So. Yeah, they definitely brought it closer and closer every time they played them on that.
Yeah.
So how about we just talk about, we've talked about it a little bit throughout the tournament as we talked about that, but the Halo 5 in general.
Yeah, so, yeah, I mean, just a couple things that I noticed I jotted down. Just we'll work through the list. Starting weapons, assault rifle and pistol. Do we think this is going to stay? We've kind of talked about it before. How do we feel this, at least, how do we feel like it worked, at least?
I think it worked, and I think it worked great. It was a little weird just because of Empire. I don't think Empire is the right map in general. And so I feel like the AR pistol was a little broken on that map, but on Fathom, I felt like it was perfect. The AR isn't what you're going to be using the majority of the time on the slightly more open maps, the maps that, to me, are better suited for competitive play, like Fathom was. You're not going to be using the AR all the time. You're primarily going to use the pistol, and the AR is a close-range weapon. You use it when your pistol you have to reload, but there's guys around. You use it in close-range situations, and so I thought that it was utilized correctly on Fathom. It got a little out of control, I felt like, on Empire, so I think that HCS is going to have to be very careful with the maps that they use, but with the appropriate maps, I think the assault rifle pistol is a really good starting combo, actually, because it gives a little bit more utility, and it increases the amount of the sandbox that's used. And I mentioned earlier that the sandbox in Halo 5 is utilized a little bit more with the different weapons. Now that there's opportunities to pick up the DMR, the pistol, or the BR, potentially the carbine, some of these other weapons. And I don't know, maybe light rifle in the future, if that stays in, I'm not entirely sure. So there's always like new stuff to pick up instead of your pistol, like slightly better ranged weapons and stuff on some of the bigger maps. So I think it can work, and I think it can work well, assuming the right maps are utilized.
Yeah, I would agree with everything you said. The only problem I kind of had was I thought the pistol was a little too strong. I'm not sure if you could 4-shot necessarily.
It's a 5-shot perfect kill.
Yeah, I was gonna say I'm pretty sure it was 5, but it shoots super quick.
Mm-hmm. It is hard to use, though.
Yeah, it reminds me a lot of the Halo 1 pistol, and just how powerful it is. And I wasn't a big fan of Halo 1. Like, I don't know. I like the gun, but I think it should be nerfed just a hair. I don't like it being that dominant of a weapon.
It's interesting because a lot of the calls for what people want is for the pistol to even be buffed to a 4-shot kill.
Really?
Yeah, that's what a lot of people think. I think the 5-shot kill is about right. I think it's difficult to use. You're not going to see that many perfects. We only saw like maybe a handful, like 5 perfect pistol kills like throughout the tournament. One, I know Jimbo had like a turnaround pistol kill on somebody that was like super sick and stuff. And that's what I like about the pistols. It allows for those type of things, assuming you're perfect with it. The only thing I might say is maybe drop the range on the pistol slightly.
Yeah, maybe that
so
would
that
do it too.
So that you're a little bit more incentivized to pick up the BR and the DMR on occasion.
Yeah, the point I was trying to make was I feel like right now you have no reason to go for a BR or a DMR with the pistol being as strong as it is, and it needs to be nerfed to allow for that to happen.
Yeah, and I think that the correct nerf is potentially to lower the range just a little bit, because we saw that was kind of one of the problems I thought that happened with Halo or MCC and stuff on some of the maps. Like, it seemed weird is how far the battle rifle could shoot and be like, and all the bullets hit basically. Where in Halo 3, like, there was definitely a range to it. Like, at a certain point, your BR, like, you could hit one bullet maybe out of your burst and stuff. And so I think that your starting weapon, like the pistol, should probably have a little bit lower range. It is one bullet, so I think it should be, I guess, possible to hit from any range. But at some point, you need to lose all your auto aim, all your bullet magnetism, and it'd be like trying to, like, BR your teammates at a certain range.
Yeah.
That way, the DMR and the BR, the carbine, one of those other rifles, is worth picking up. Excuse me, sorry.
Yeah, I completely agree. So that's what I didn't like, is I felt there was no incentive to get other weapons.
Yeah, BR also probably needs a little bit faster time between shots, because otherwise I think the DMR outclasses it completely.
Yeah. I have a little bit of discussion around that a little bit later. Okay. We'll move into abilities. Some of the abilities I saw, there were thrusters from side to side. There was definitely sprint where your weapon was down, so you couldn't sprint and shoot. Charge, which allowed you to kind of like run in for a melee type of situation.
Yeah, and it seemed like it was a. So just quick on the charge. I didn't think I ever saw a one-hit kill from that, which I'm very happy about.
Yeah, I don't think I did either.
So, yeah. So no one-hit kills from the charge, which I'm super glad about. I know when I play Destiny and you get shoulder charged and stuff, it's terrible. It's like super annoying. So I'm very glad about that. But it is more powerful, I think, than a normal melee. So potentially a body shot kills after a charge, but I'm not sure.
Yeah. And then there's clamber, which allows people to... I'm not sure what the exact measurement's on. I think it's basically if your upper body is above the...
helps you climb onto ledges.
Yeah, it helps you climb onto ledges to a certain extent. Obviously, like, if you completely blow the jump, it won't work. But, like, if for you're at your knees or something, when your feet are a little bit below it or something, it'll allow you to climb up. And then the last thing was the stabilizer, which I thought was really interestingly used, that allows them to basically hover in midair for a couple seconds.
I think I saw Buck20 using that quite a bit, and one of the only people that was really utilizing a bunch.
Yeah, I could see that being used a bunch with the sniper. To be able to get a better view of areas.
So, Rugal, which of these 5 abilities did you like? Or are you glad that are in, actually?
Honestly, I mean, technically, me being my old school Halo person that I am, I'm not glad to see any of them. But as far as all 5, I was okay with. I don't know about the charge. I'm still iffy on if I like the charge or not. Sprinting I can deal with because your gun's down. That doesn't bother me. Clamber, I'm not the biggest fan of. That's kind of a weird. It's a very new, that like a lot of these things are abilities
they're definitely new.
Other we've seen in Reach or 4, so they're not really new. But Clamber is a completely new thing to Halo. In Halo, jumping's always been a big deal. That you have to there's jumps that take absolute perfect precision, and I'm thinking like the Master Chief Collection, the jump along outside of P Street, or the jump from T1 to T2 on Sanctuary as well. Like those jumps where it takes absolute perfection to be able to do them, and with Clamber, that takes a lot of that away, because if you're just in the area of what the jump is, your guy's going to climb up. So I'm not the biggest fan of that. The stabilizer I thought was cool. Thrusters I'm fine with. I'm glad I didn't see any of the ground pound. I'm not sure if that's because I thought I read somewhere that it was banned from the competitive play at this tournament.
No, I think I saw somebody trying to do it, but it just... It doesn't seem like something that's very useful in a competitive setting.
I could have swore I heard that they weren't that it was
maybe maybe it's banned. I don't know. I didn't hear that, but I just think it's something that's not really. It's kind of a cheese thing that you might see in like normal casual games, more so than a competitive gameplay. Because like, how often can you just like sit and like try and time your hover and wait for someone to come around a corner type of deal? Which is when I don't know. I don't think we'll see it very much in competitive play. So I think that's good. I don't necessarily hate it. I don't like it, but I don't hate it. For me, the things I actually really did like the stabilizer. I thought that was nice, and I thought it gave a little bit of like it allowed some of those like more difficult angles to be. You can watch it for just a little bit longer stuff. Like I can see some good plays being used with it.
Yeah.
In general, I'm not too upset with any of them. Kind of like you, just because I come from a standpoint where the more buttons you have to press, the better almost, because I feel like the more you're having to press different buttons, like whether it's thrusters, your stabilizers, like, you know, trying to do all that stuff at the same time, it creates a larger skill gap just because you're having to press more things, and have the right timing on all the different stuff that potentially increases skill gap. You know, some of the stuff might not be great for competitive play in general. Like I don't think sprint is ever great from competitive play or ever good for it. I don't think it was breaking in this case. Like with what we saw, I don't think it was ever a serious problem, especially now that when you're sprinting, you no longer recharge your shields. Charge is probably my least favorite. I don't like charge.
Yeah,
I don't like it in any of the games I've really played in. But it didn't seem game breaking because it wasn't a one hit kill. It seemed it seemed like a way to melee someone without getting melee back. So it's basically because it kind of I feel like it pushed the person back a little bit that you hit.
I don't know if it pushed them back or pushed you back, but there's definitely a separation that occurred. The main thing I have a problem with is when you're sprinting, your gun's lowered. So, you know, if you're running and you come upon someone that's not running, they're gonna be able to have one up on you because their guns are gonna be ready to go and shoot.
Yeah.
The charge basically nullifies that, and the fact that if you're sprinting, you can immediately charge into them. And so then it takes away from, you know, it makes people going to sprint more because they're more...
Yeah, it gives less of a disadvantage or a penalty to sprint, basically.
Yeah, exactly. So
no, that's a fair point.
I'm not a big fan of the charge.
Yeah. So as far as clamber goes, seemed like you didn't like it very much just because it could potentially like ruin jumping and the skill that is involved there. And I think that's possible, but I think you might see a little bit more ghost ledges, kind of like how on the outside of P Street, you see that ghost ledge. So I think that's possible. And then also you have to realize that when clamber's there, maps are going to be scaled to it. So some of the jumps that wouldn't normally be able to, like, you're saying it'll be easier because the clamber, well, it might not necessarily, it could be easier, but it might not because they'll just raise up the jump height a little bit. So then you still have to do it correctly to get get high enough to be able to clamber up.
I mean, it's so possible, but...
Yeah, so I don't know. I guess it really depends on what we see on the maps. I did like you were talking about with Jimbo and his route to snipe. I thought he was able to use clamber in cool ways where he's able to use the geometry of the map and stuff to be able to like climb up in unique ways rather than just take the normal route of the map or whatever to get up there. Yeah. So, I mean, I thought it worked okay. I don't think it was game-breaking at all. And I'm okay with it. As far as thrusters go, I like thrusters.
I was surprisingly okay with them.
Yeah, people complain about like, oh, people can just jet or thruster back inside the map and they don't get punished for being in poor positioning or whatever. And I don't think that's necessarily the case. I still think you get punished for being in a poor position. But the game's just changing a little bit. Like, you're not in a poor position if you can thruster behind wall. It's just different from the old game a little bit.
Are you able to thruster in any direction? Or was it just side to side?
Just side to side.
See, so that I'm okay with. As long as you can't thruster forward or back, I think thrusting side to side is fine. And as long as they keep the jetpacks out of it, you know.
Yeah, definitely.
Being able to go left and right is fine, but if all of a sudden it's either up and down or forward and back, then it's too many directions.
Yeah. No, the left right I actually enjoyed. I think we saw, I mentioned it earlier with Ace, with the good play against the OS. He was able to use the thruster to dodge those shotgun shots, basically. And I thought it added a skill, like a 1v1 type skill where you can kind of basically juke people a little bit easier, or not. I don't know. Easier is the right word. It is easier, but you just have to be more prepared for that type of thing when you're fighting, and I think it's going to add a level of individual skill. And like what he mentioned on that tweet, is that the top players are going to really have to have great technique and just like developing their skill set for some of these abilities. So I enjoyed Stabilizer and Thruster. Didn't really enjoy Charge. Sprint, it's on the lower end of my enjoyment, and Clamber is just kind of in the middle for me.
Yeah. Moving on then, let's see. YY shotgun is still a thing. I was glad to see that.
Yeah, talking about the shotgun, what do you think about that?
I actually think I also mentioned it later, so I mean we can talk about it now. I hated it. I absolutely hated it. It could be just, it's a beta build, it's an early version. There's a lot more that could change on it. It just
okay. So break down why you hated it. So
my point of view is it just didn't feel like there was enough feedback on it from a use perspective. Like you would shoot it and maybe the full animations aren't in there yet. Just from a visual perspective, like it just didn't seem like the gun did anything. It just seemed like you would shoot it and it would backfire, and then all of a sudden your opponent would drop dead. Like I wasn't seeing
like a big recoil or anything, like the power of it basically.
You would see just like a little bit of like spark come out the end, and then all of a sudden your opponent would dead, and it just something about it seemed off to me. Seemed a little too strong to begin with.
Yeah, so definitely the range was a lot longer than any of the shotguns that we've seen in previous Halos. And I have heard that the range is reduced a little bit in the current build compared to what we saw at Gamescom.
Yeah.
I've heard that rumor. But in general, I honestly kind of like it. I think the range should be a little bit higher than what we've seen in the past. Not as high as what we saw in the Gamescom, but a little bit higher than what we've seen in the past, just to make it a little bit more of a power weapon, so that you don't need to have a camo or an overshield in combo with it to make it a power weapon. I know it's not technically like a power weapon like rockets or sniper that gets timed or whatever, but I think I enjoyed seeing the strength of the shotgun again, that it was something worth controlling on a map, like an actual controlling, not just like on what we'd see on Warlord and like Lockdown and stuff and actually it was on all 3 maps in MCC, where it was just kind of like if it was there, you kind of grabbed it. But rather than really trying to control that weapon.
Yeah. Yeah, something, I don't know, like I said.
But I agree with you on the visual stuff. It really did seem like, I feel like for a weapon as powerful as the shotgun was, it should have a lot more kick or
feedback or something. Something seemed off to me, just from noticing it.
The other thing, I thought it needed to be nerfed, because it's more of a power weapon now, I think that the clip size should be dropped to 5. And only have 1 clip in it.
I'd also like to see a little bit bigger,
or 2 clips,
bigger spread.
Yeah,
Halo's never had like a really big spread on the shotgun in the sense of like if you put 2 people next to each other, the spread's not gonna like hit them both equally, and that's something I've kind of always thought should have been there when it hasn't.
What, get like a 2 kill with 1 shotgun?
Yeah, like if you have 2 absolutes, running away from you, and you shoot at in the middle.
In between them, yeah. That'd be cool.
Yeah, that'd be cool. So that's just an idea that I've always thought.
Wouldn't be opposed to it, I guess. And then also the YY is still available, so you can, to shoot faster, you can tap YY, switch your weapon, switch back to the shotgun, and a little bit faster animation, which I enjoy.
So a couple other things. Hit markers are back when you do damage to someone, so if you throw a grenade in around a corner or something, and you don't see the person, but you do damage, you will see the marker come up, which we saw that previously in the Master Chief Collection. But along the same lines, we no longer see the grenade markers, which is nice.
Yeah, I like this. The grenade markers, I thought it made it a little too easy to dodge grenades sometimes.
Yeah.
And then, but I do like the hit markers. Just a little bit more information. I don't know. I enjoyed it. I guess people could say it reduces the skill, I guess, in the game, but I liked having hit markers.
Yeah.
Also, especially online when, hopefully it's not a problem, but like in laggy games and stuff, when if you actually hit someone or not, that's always nice.
Yeah. So, let's see. Should there be a stamina on abilities?
Yeah, like something I think could be cool is a general stamina bar that works for all your abilities.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
And basically, sprinting takes down 1 stamina per second or whatever, and then like thrustering takes down 5 stamina every time you do it, and clamber takes down 1 stamina or whatever, and then your stamina slowly recharges or whatever. I think that would be good. I mean, I think it just something else to manage. Again, like I said, the more that's going on basically the more that's going on in a controlled fashion is better for competitive play.
Yeah, and along those lines, maybe your shield won't start recharging until your stamina hits a certain point. Maybe it's like your bar has to be at least 1/3 for your healing to start. So that way, if people burn all of their stamina using their sprint, thruster, stabilizer to try to get out of a fight, they can't just immediately start healing. They'll have to wait for their stamina to come back. I would say no more than maybe a second or two, and then their shield will start recharging. Obviously, numbers will all get tweaked, things along those lines, but I think there should be a waiting period where if you blow all your stamina, you can't just immediately.
Well, I do know with the sprint that like when you sprint and you're no shield, it resets your timer to recharge. Yeah. So that kind of is in there. Not so much with the thruster and stuff like that, but with sprint it's there.
What's there with sprint to be there with all of the.
Gotcha. I don't know exactly how I feel about that. I wouldn't argue against it probably, but I'm not gonna argue for it.
Okay. See here, we already talked about OS taking like a second to start.
Mm-hmm. Just to recap for any new listeners, or if you missed that part, it takes 1 second basically, or it's like 3/4 of a second or something like that to equip the overshield, and during that time you can die. So it really makes teams have to control it a little bit more.
So here's the interesting thing, since we brought it back up anyways. If in that second when the person is trying to equip it, they die, should the overshield just get dropped and be able to be picked up by someone else, or should it be burned? Because technically, if you have it from a realistic standpoint,
it should drop.
Yeah, you haven't technically initiated it yet, so it should still exist.
Yeah, from a thematic way or whatever, it should still exist and it should drop. And having it drop could be cool. That would really make it, the teams have to control it, like seriously control the area and earn the overshield. And if that was the case, you'd definitely have to see a longer overshield time. I know we both want that anyway, like a respawn time on the overshield, probably 90 seconds. But I don't think it should probably drop just because I like the option, kind of like how you compared it to League of Legends with, stealing Baron or just dying in the process to stop them or delay them or something like that. I kind of like that where, you can go in and burn the overshield and just die. Like you're sacrificing your life to just die or whatever, but you're stopping the other team from getting the OS. And I think that can be a fair trade in a Halo game. So I'm okay with it not dropping on the ground, but dropping on the ground could also be cool. So I guess I would have to really see both in play before I could really make a decision on what I like better.
Yeah. I would agree. I mean, from a thematic standpoint, it makes sense, but at the same time, I like that it can get burned so easily as well. So I think I'm kind of with you that I need to see it play both ways before I could make a definitive on it. Some other things here. Sniping is gonna be a bitch with all these abilities. Like the only way you're gonna get snipes on people is if they don't see you. If they know whereabouts you are, you're not gonna get crap because there are so many abilities for you to dodge that it's gonna, even the elite snipers aren't gonna be able to hit those shots.
I don't know. I think we're gonna see some of the great snipers and stuff. They're gonna know exactly how far a thruster goes. So if they see someone thruster, they'll immediately just whip to the spot and fire at the spot that they know they're going to be, type of deal.
I mean, it's possible, but we'll have to see how things play out. But it's either going to make a super tier of the elite snipers and then good snipers, and then everyone else, or it's going to just make everyone a bad sniper.
I'm more in the thinking that it'll make some elite snipers, they're just going to be, not they're a god or whatever, but they're going to be able to predict those thrusters and stuff. That's the one I'm thinking of most, is the thruster really throwing off snipers. We saw in Reach and stuff, people get sniped while sprinting all the time.
Yeah.
So I don't see that as being a big deal or whatever. The thruster is the only thing that really changes stuff to me.
Well, I mean, there's that.
Clamber could a little bit. I don't know exactly.
Hover or
Yeah, the hover is not a big. I mean, honestly, I think that makes you more susceptible. Yeah, the stabilizer makes you more susceptible to being sniped.
Yeah,
so.
But like if you go to jump and they're predicting you to come down, and all of a sudden you stabilize, they'll only get a body
That's true.
shot.
Yeah, and then they'll body shot you again before you come down again or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, there's it could help and hurt, and maybe if it's their last bullet before they have to reload.
Yeah, exactly. No, it'll make it definitely a larger skill sniping, but I think that there's going to be plenty of players that master that skill.
Yeah, I'm not so sure. I think eventually, I just don't know how long it's going to take before we start seeing.
Gotcha.
Let's see. Next to no aim assist. And I noticed this back when the beta was around and I played it. The aim assist, like, it's basically, I mean, it's there, but barely. Like, it's a lot more on your own. We're gonna see. I think this is gonna distinguish people's BRs or DMRs or whatever they are.
Their pistol skill. Yeah,
we're gonna see a lot less 4-shots. We're gonna see a lot, a lot more people, back in the old school, like Halo 2 days when like Roy, like everyone knew like Roy's BR was the best BR in Halo 2 and it was a definitive thing. And then as the Halos have gone along,
or in Halo 3, you mean?
No, Halo 2.
Roy wasn't the best in Halo 2.
I think he was.
No.
Who I'm
saying
had a better
no.
BR than him in Halo 2?
I'm saying like one of the ogres or something like that.
I don't know.
Karma. Karma had a great BR.
Karma, yeah, I could see Karma, but I wouldn't say the ogres. As good as Final Boss was individually, none of those players were ever
a strong side.
Strong, yeah. I mean that's a whole other discussion about Halo 2 Final Boss. Which
I feel like Roy wasn't around long enough. He was only one season in Halo 2, so that's why I say like Halo 3. He was undoubtedly like I think he won like best BR in like the MLG like awards things like every time. But enough of like the past or whatever. Yeah, very little aim assist. It is gonna create a bigger skill gap. Or like you're gonna see like top tier pistols and then like people that aren't as good with it. I mean, it's still gonna be good. There's not gonna be. It's not like some extreme separation between individual pros, but you are gonna see like a bigger range of abilities, like you do currently with like the sniper and stuff. There's people that are really good at sniping, and there's people that aren't as good. They're still good, but they're not as good. And I think that's what we're going to see a little bit with all of the weapons going into Halo 5, but particularly the pistol, because I feel like that had like the least aim assist probably.
Yeah. We didn't see a lot of it, but from what I saw, the BR and DMR, they almost seemed identical.
I think that I mentioned it. I think the DMR fired faster, so it actually made the BR like, I guess, not really very effective in any way.
Yeah. I didn't even like it was barely used almost, and so I didn't get to see much of it. But from what I saw, like there needs to be some sort of distinction. Otherwise, they're basically the same.
Yeah.
And then the only other thing I had was when you're sprinting, you seem like a fat kid running. I didn't like the animation.
So I mean, it's just like you kind of just like thunder along.
Well, like if you looked at it from like the person who was running, like the arms, the way they like shifted. It just reminded me of a fat kid running. Like it didn't.
So it was just the visuals of it. Not
it was all visual. Like I had nothing else against it other than the fact that visually it seemed like a fat kid running. So
this just in, Phelan hates fat kids running.
This is not true. I'm a fat kid myself. But, yeah, I don't know. It just seemed awkward. I would like to see that tightened up a little bit.
Yeah. Then
yeah, go ahead.
Do we want to do rosters real quick, or do you want to go?
Okay. There's not much to talk about.
There was definitely some stuff that went on and
if you jump
changes
into
and stuff.
Episode 7, I have written down.
Oh, okay.
So we'll get things started. We mentioned earlier Kobe is off Excellence. At least that's what it seems. I haven't seen anything official come out yet, but Kobe basically sent out a tweet saying, had a good time with you all. Thanks for great Halos or whatever. I think basically saying that he.
I think we kind of predicted this though, didn't we? Like after that, how well they did in the H5 hurry with potentially Kratos stepping into that spot. I think is who it was.
Yeah. Other thing, on stream, Nate had said he has no plans to switch teams, but he will never play on a team where I knew.
Really?
Yeah. He says their personalities clash. They have opposite viewpoints. They have opposite play styles. They just can't get along, and he refuses to play on a team with them again, which leads to getting things interesting because during that 2v2 tournament, there were two Winter Fox teams. There was a WFX, and then there was a Winter Fox team. as of right now, the whole team is still on WinterFox. I know.
No, I thought I saw either today or yesterday that Randa and Nated are no longer on WinterFox.
It's not official yet.
Oh, it's not official. Okay.
Yeah, it's. I know Nated before the end of last season. Nated had asked for a release from WinterFox, and they had said no. I think Rhino did as well, and they had said no. So as far as that goes, the current rumor is that Randa and Nated are being released, but nothing's been official. And Nated says he, like, on stream, I was watching him earlier, he said he can't say anything about it. So we don't know for sure what's going on there. But it seems like Nated and Randa are gonna be released, which is gonna leave Ryan New and Arcanum as WinterFox team, which could get interesting.
Yeah, definitely. The big one I think is Denial is broken up. It's 2 teams of 2 basically. Chig and Mikwin. Actually, and neither side is actually attached to Denial now. Denial has nobody on their roster.
I thought Heinz because Heinz said he was still a part of Denial like yesterday.
Might be streaming wise, but not. Denial posted a Twitter that they don't have a Halo team and they're currently looking for one.
But does that mean they don't have any players, or that they don't have a full team?
I thought it was that they don't. I thought both sides parted from Denial completely. Is what I was under the impression of. It could still be Heinz and APG.
I was under the impression that it basically split into 2. The way it happened is into 2 pairs. There's Heinz and APG on one side, and then Chig and Mikwin on the other side. Chig is no longer using any of his Denial overlays like on his. I was just watching him earlier. And Heinz made a statement on the Team Beyond forums that he is still a part of Denial and that he hasn't left Denial.
Okay.
So I was under the impression that they were still, him and APG were still under contract and they were going to be looking for 2, but maybe they're not. I don't know.
Yeah. So those are the pairs. It does seem like the rumors that Heinz APG are going to be joining up with Pistola and Formal, the old Reach Pro and current Call of Duty Pro.
You think that now would they go Denial, or I've also heard rumblings of maybe an Optic Nation team starting up?
Yeah, I don't know. That's why honestly I don't know. Probably too early to tell and stuff. So, I just cannot say right there.
Yeah.
But if that is the team or whatever, and Pistola's there's now an opening on Cloud9. Be interesting to see what Victory X Fear Itself and Hysteria do. If they stay together and just pick up one more, if they break. My guess is that they'd probably try and stay together in some fashion just because they are attached to Cloud9 and stuff. Yeah, so those are really the big stuff. I mean, Enable keeps hinting that he's going to come back.
Yeah, the only thing
nothing
is,
official there.
Confirm that they're sticking together and that Orga 2's not retiring. Liquid's confirmed that they have no plans to change and that they're sticking together.
Yeah.
Up to this point, and
and then obviously EG sticking together.
EG sticking together. And then just some quick community news. HCS has an official Twitter at HCS. Make sure you guys go follow that for all your official Halo Championship Series tweets and things along those lines. And then I just want to talk about quick. EG won the TI5. So not only has EG won, they won the Dota first place in the top tier Dota for 8.2 million, or no, 6-something million. But in this year alone, their Dota team has won 8.2 million in just this year.
Yeah.
In just this year, their Halo team has won 170,000, and in just
big difference there, but
just this year. But they won the top tier.
No, EG's very very dominant in like really all games.
Yeah, that's why I said of the only games that they haven't won in are StarCraft 2. Of the games that EG runs right now, Dota, Halo, or fighting games in general, but in StarCraft 2, they won Dota, they won Halo, Street Fighter, which is arguably the best fighting game out there. They won. Momochi won at EVO, which is their biggest thing. So that's those three right there, and then StarCraft 2. I'm not sure if that's even still early or, but they did. Well, I was trying to find out information, and it doesn't look like they've won that anytime recently. But still, the 3 of the biggest games out there, they have taken first place in. So EG is definitely, I would say, the number 1 esports organization at this point.
Yeah, they absolutely are. Yeah, I mean, I think that's all we have for say on the rosters and stuff. I think next week, any new news we'll talk about, and then also try and do awards for end of
yeah, we gotta do our awards.
MCC.
And I saw Team Beyond actually did their own like awards.
Oh really?
There like a poll. Yeah, there was like a poll you could vote on. I think it might even still be active, but
gotcha. Our awards are better.
Yeah, sure. So well, that'll be coming next week's episode. So take it away, Phade, with your plugs or whatever.
Yeah, you can catch me on Twitter at FadeFade. And then I am starting to stream potentially. I'm still working on figuring out my capture situation. I got to get a webcam and stuff, so I don't have to use the built-in Xbox streaming. But I will be doing that soon. And then let's see what game is first. I think that Destiny expansion is the first thing. Destiny and FIFA, I'm probably going to start streaming. So catch me on Twitch at Phade_HCS, but mostly Twitter at FadeFade. And yeah, get at me. We can play games on Xbox too. So
cool.
Thanks for listening. Yeah.
I am Phelan, FAIL3N. You can catch me on Twitch, on Twitter, all that fun stuff. Now that I'm back from vacation, probably starting on Monday, I'm going to get back into streaming a little bit more regularly. As far as
you did your giveaway recently, right?
Not too long ago. I did one. I have another one at 100 followers, so only looks like about 21 away. So close to another giveaway, which will be.
Can we get a sneak preview on what that giveaway will be?
It'll be a game of some sort. If you go to my actual Twitch page, or I'll just hop on there quick to check because I honestly don't even know what I have listed.
It just says major giveaway.
Major giveaway, then it'll be a game under $. So,
right. So yeah, if you guys are listening, come in and follow Phelan for a chance to win one of those prizes.
Yeah, that'll be coming up in the near future, assuming I get to the 100 break that 100 barrier mark. But I will be streaming. I plan on doing some Vegas, Fallout New Vegas. I've never actually played that before. I played 3, so I want to try that for the first time. That'll be fun. Once Madden comes out, I'm gonna definitely jump on the Madden wagon, and then when the new NHL comes out, I'll forget about Madden and play NHL exclusively. And then it'll probably lead me right up to Halo 5, and then we'll see what happens at that point. I don't plan on playing Halo 5 all that much, but
what?
We'll see what happens when we get to that point. You never know. It seems like it's getting away from my type of Halo that I'm going to enjoy playing. I'm definitely going to enjoy watching, but I don't know how much I'm going to play it.
This just in, by the way. Sorry to interrupt, but on the
Dun, 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 breaking.
No, never mind.
Oh my god.
Yeah, no, never mind.
So yeah, I'll definitely either way. Come check me out. Watch my stream. I rage a lot. I swear a lot. It's pretty entertaining. That being said, if you have any questions, comments, suggestions, anything along those lines for the podcast, feel free to send us an email to 4shoppodcast@gmail.com. That's 4 is in the number 4, shoppodcast@gmail.com. We'd love to hear from you guys. Any feedback, any questions, anything you want us to answer along those lines. We'd love to hear from you guys. If you have questions that you want us to even discussion points for the show that you would like us to talk about, or we'd be willing to do that as well. We always like to know what you guys want to know. See here. Follow us on YouTube, on iTunes, all that. All those subscribing and liking places. Leave us comments. Leave us good feedback. All those things. We greatly appreciate it.
Mm-hmm.
We'll be back next week with our red carpet black tie affair award show. So tune in Tuesday at 8:30 Eastern time for that. I feel like I'm missing something.
Yeah, I don't think so.
All right. Well, with that being said, guys, we will tune in Tuesday at 8:30 Eastern time. Will be our next podcast, and we will see you then. And remember, keep those 4-shot Colonel Sanders original recipe.
Finger looking good.
All right. Bye.